Hello everyone, a very good morning to you. Welcome once again to the Red Bull Ring here in Spielberg for race 26 of the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. 2 races to come today. Weather conditions at the moment, dry. There was some rain overnight and there's some question about which side of the grid is going to be totally dry and whether one side of the grid has got just still some little damp patches, but we are not expecting rather any rainfall. The weather forecast is for it to remain dry during the course of the rest of the day here at the Red Bull Ring. Certainly hope so. Qualifying then, it went the way of Mick Schumacher, who will be going from P1 on the grid. Of course, he took the win yesterday, adding to his rich tally of wins. Won Mr. Mick Schumacher on a rich vein of form, and now leading the Drivers' Championship on 286 points ahead of Dan Ticktum, who's P2 in the Drivers' Championship. Then it's Marcus Armstrong and Juri Vips, the top 4 places in the Drivers' Championship currently. As you can see, we're 5.5 minutes away from the race getting underway, and there indeed is our pole sitter, 1:23.170. A very, very good qualifying time from Mick Schumacher, which gives him another pole position. Pole positions for every race this weekend. So Mick Schumacher going from P1 on the grid. And, of course, his target, of course, to convert that P1 into the race result, P1 as well. Alongside him then is Prema Theodore racer Marcus Armstrong in the number 8 car, who finished P4 yesterday. But we look now at Dan Ticktum, who's going from P8 on the grid. So we cross back to Mick Schumacher now, and the focus there, the job that he knows he needs to do. So P2, as I was saying, for the Prema Theodore racer Marcus Armstrong, a 1:23.257 for Marcus Armstrong. And it was the fastest lap times in Quali 2 that sets the grid for race number 2. It's the second fastest lap times that set the grid for race 3 to come a little bit later this afternoon. Robert Schwartzman going from P3 on the grid, another Prema Theodore racer, and like Marcus Armstrong, a member of the Ferrari Driver Academy, so supported, of course, by the SMP Racing Concern. Juri Vips, who I was having a conversation with this morning, in good form. Marco Asma then just looking after him there with the headphones on to the very left of your picture, just gone out of shot now. So Juri Vips then, the Estonian racer with a 1:23.437. He goes from P4 on the grid, so a second row start for Juri Vips. Then we find the very good qualifying from Jonathan Aberdeen then, the Moto Park racer, 1:23.463 for Jonathan Aberdeen. Like Juri Vips, a Moto Park racer. And Gian Daravala, who yesterday in race 1, there was a fantastic lap-long battle between Gian Daravala and Dan Ticktum, which was really exceptional to watch. Dan Ticktum eventually winning that particular battle between the two of them, but great respect between both of the drivers and good racing room left by both. This is the car number 11 of Sasha Fenestraz, the Carlin racer, who has been a winner this season. Race 2 at Pau. And Sasha Fenestraz then, who finished the race yesterday in that P11 place. But this is Dan Ticktum, who has seen the lead in the Drivers' Championship go away from him. Dan Ticktum then finishing the race yesterday, P8, and starts much further down the order than he would like. It's a P8 start for Dan Ticktum. He knows he's got work to do and will do everything he can to deliver. Ferdinand Habsburg then, he had some incredible moments during race 1 yesterday. A 1:23.749 gives Ferdinand Habsburg P12 on the grid. He finished P5, the Carlin racer, yesterday. So Ferdinand Habsburg, as we look now at the cars all lined up on the grid. Good crowd here to enjoy the FIA Formula 3 European Championship race 2, and of course race 3 to come a little bit later today. And that's a fantastic shot of the grid. Julian Hanses then is going from P20 on the grid. Julian Hanses, who has returned to the Formula 3 European Championship, but now in the hands of Carlin. So good to see Julian Hanses back on the FIA Formula 3 European Championship trail. Former successful German Formula 4 racer, Julian Hanses, then back into Formula 3. With a different team, it's Carlin now for Julian Hanses, and we're under 2 minutes away from the start of the race then. 33 minutes plus 1 lap, as always, for the Formula 3 European Championship. And there, once again, is our pole setter, Mick Schumacher, who yesterday in sealing that triumph, made it 4 wins in a row. Mark Armstrong in car number 8 finished P4 yesterday and gives himself a very good start, though, going alongside Mick Schumacher, P2 on the grid. So some photos being taken then of the grid lineup, and everyone has been sent away from the grid. It's just the engineers to start the cars and to fire the cars up as we zoom in on the number 44 car of Jury Vips. 33 minutes plus 1 lap, as I mentioned, for Mick Schumacher, going from P1 on the grid, and for all the other racers in this FIA Formula 3 European Championship race. So the car's fired into life then, and stand by. Race action to come. Mick Schumacher, can he make it 5th win in a row? He's done the first part of it by qualifying the car P1, that's for sure. So the cars will be released on their formation lap momentarily. And it'll be Schumacher from Armstrong, then Schwartzman and Vips on the front 2 rows of the grid. We'll give you the grid lineup in full in both voice and graphics in just a few moments' time. As you can see, the track looks pretty dry now. Perhaps just the inside line, the closest pit to the pit wall, is just a little bit damp in places. So we await the cars being released then as we check out the Dan Ticktum car then. Also supported by Red Bull, and here at the Red Bull ring for Dan Ticktum. Well, what can he do from P8 on the grid to overhaul the young German driver that has, as I say, a rich vein of success at the moment, this young man, Mick Schumacher. So the lights go green, that means the formation lap can get underway. Reddy Rossin, the team principal of Prema Theodore Racing then, inside the garage, and once the start has happened, he'll leg it from the garage onto the pit wall. Race 26 in the championship for this season is about to get underway. After this race, we have merely 4 more before the end of the championship for 2018. And what a year it has been. As promised, here's the grid in full for you. Schumacher, Armstrong, then it's Schwartzman, Vips, Aberdeen, Daruvala, Fenestras, Ticktum, and then Ralph Aron and Nikita Troitsky, all occupying the first 5 rows of the grid for this race 2 of 3 here at the Red Bull ring. Guan Yu Zhu and Ferdinand Habsburg, then it's Inem Ahmed and Alex Paulo, Sebastian Fernandez, Artem Petrov, Keivan Suri Andres, then it's Marino Sato, Sofia Flörsch and Julian Hanses occupy the next 5 rows of the grid, with Amaya Vadyanathan ahead of Fabio Scherer and Ben Hingley for High-Tech Bullfrog GP. In the points, Schumacher, P1, 286. P2, Dan Ticktum, 268. P3, Marcus Armstrong, 232. With P4 in the Drivers' Championship, Jury Vips on 226 points. The track layout then, 4.3 kilometers, 10 turns, 3 of them are left-handers, 7 of them are right-handers. And it is a challenging circuit, that's for sure. The elevation changes, and it's quite a short circuit, relative, not that many corners, but it provides some fantastic racing always. So, confirmation of the Drivers' Championship then, Mick Schumacher at the top, with Ticktum, Armstrong and Vips occupying the next 3 positions. Then it's Ralph Aron and Robert Schwartzman, P5 and P6. So this is the man then who bagged 4 straight wins to add to his already burgeoning tally of race wins in the latter part of this season. His 7th win overall yesterday. You can see the air temperature is just under 17 degrees, just over 17 degrees for the track temperature, but bone dry at the moment. So, Schumacher, and we saw Schwartzman lining his car up in the grid box as well. Here comes Dan Ticktum then for his grid box. Parks absolutely perfectly within. And they have to wait, of course, for the remainder of the cars to park themselves into their grid boxes before the start of the race, and the start sequence can be got underway. So Schumacher from Armstrong and Schwartzman. Then it's Jury Vips, Aberdeen, Daruvala, Fenestras, before we get to Dan Ticktum running from P8 ahead of Ralph Aron and Nikita Troitsky. So the tension begins to mount on the pit walls, but we get the okay from the marshal at the rear of the pack. The engine note rises, 33 minutes plus 1 lap. As the cars are unleashed now, the lights go out, let's go racing. Everyone seems to get away. And Mick Schumacher then, with a good start, Robert Schwartzman already trying to attack Marcus Armstrong as they head up towards turn number 1, through turn 1, then head up towards turn number 2, which is a little kink on this straight section as they head up towards turn number 3. So Armstrong really under pressure here, and Jury Vips also trying to take advantage as well as Robert Schwartzman gets hung out towards the outside here, and Jury Vips will have the inside as all the cars also make their way through the Ramus turn without too many problems at all. Is Robert Schwartzman going to lose this P3 place to Jury Vips? He's just able to close the door to protect that P3 position. Vips all over the side of him. Vips, of course, is vulnerable himself to Aberdeen. And the cars snake their way through the Roush turn and head towards turn number 6 now. Someone off in turn number 4 and turn number 5. That looks like one of the Van Amersfoort cars with damage just at the top of the picture there. So Schumacher leading from Armstrong. Then it is Schwartzman. So the 1, 2, 3 then. The early stages of the race as we get a safety car called for. Jonathan Aberdeen has managed to get past Jury Vips, as you can see. And it is... I was right, it's the Kevin Suri-Andres car then with damage, and also out is the Sebastian Fernandez car number 3. So the safety car has been called for, so before even one lap is completed, the safety car is out, and will neutralize the race then for the cars that we've seen damaged then. Kevin Suri-Andres and Sebastian Fernandez. We didn't see on screen exactly how it happened. Doubtless we'll get a replay of that. So those two cars are out. There is the safety car ready to pick up the race leader, Mick Schumacher. And whilst all that was going on, Jonathan Aberdeen and Jury Vips. Now, Jury Vips was trying to get past Robert Schwartzman. That made himself very vulnerable to Jonathan Aberdeen, and Aberdeen did manage to get past him. So here we can see then they're 3 abreast. Just getting caught. And then basically the Sebastian Fernandez car was slowed, and unsighted Kevin Suri-Andres ran into the back of the Sebastian Fernandez car. And there you can see significant damage and work to do for the Van Amersfoort racing team on the Kevin Suri-Andres car. So the safety car is out then, and we saw in replay how that all unfolded. So that's 2 cars that we have lost from the order already. And before a lap completed, the safety car is called for. So, as I was saying then, Robert Schwartzman, who Jury Vips was trying to get past, and in so doing, left the door open for Jonathan Aberdeen, who was able to take advantage of the fight that those two were having. Schwartzman, of course, is also trying to attack Armstrong at the same time. So there was a lot going on right at the start of the race, which has now been brought under the control of the safety car. Let's take a replay of the start as Schumacher got away well. So did Armstrong. In fact, nearly everyone getting away perfectly. No problems. And as they headed towards turn number 1, both Armstrong and Schumacher getting very, very good starts. Big uphill climb towards turn number 1. A number of cars run wide across that yellow sausage curb, if you like, which really lifts the cars, as you can see. It's a fantastic slow-mo replay shot then of the cars bouncing across, including Gian Daravala and Dan Ticktum just to the left of the picture, and also the number 23 car of Jonathan Aberdeen, who got a real slingshot, to be fair, off the sausage curb. Another one going across there with Sebastian Fernandez. Of course, his race wouldn't last particularly long, and Amaya Vadyanathan in the number 24 car, as well as Ben Hingley getting past the number 17 car of Julian Hanses. So on board the Prema pit wall then. And also on board the Motor Park pit wall also. So just trying to listen into the conversations, but nothing really of any revelation there as the safety car leads the cars through turn number 6 at the moment. And they're on board with the safety car. Those 2 cars are going to be recovered, of course, the Sebastian Fernandez car, and also the car of Kevin Suri-Andres before the race can be resumed. As soon as the safety car is coming in, we'll tell you about that. Of course, the clock continues to count down whilst we are behind the safety car, and Mick Schumacher, like all other drivers behind him, weaving from side to side to try and keep some temperature into the tyres. There you can see the Sebastian Fernandez car. Looks like it's been put into safety area, and the marshal's doing a great job to sweep some of the gravel off the track that's been brought on following that incident. And presumably once that is done, we will see the safety car coming in. So theoretically, unless the Kevin Suriando's car is still in a position of danger, we can probably expect the safety car to come in at the end of this lap. So one more lap behind the safety car. That is only a prediction from my side. No official statement that the safety car is coming in at the end of this lap, but I would think now the clear-up operation has been completed, that will be the case. We can go back to racing, having what have we got? 27 minutes plus 1 lap remaining on the clock. Schumacher, Armstrong, Schwartzman. Then it was Aberdeen ahead of Jury Vips. Then it's Fenestras, Titton, Aron ahead of Daravala and Habsburg, rounding out the top 10. So they make their way through this very uphill right-hand Remus turn. It's almost like a hairpin. You almost come back upon yourself. It's really quite an angle. And as I say, you continue climbing at that point as well before snaking downhill towards the Roush turn, which is turn number 4. And continue going downhill through turn number 4, which is precisely where we saw that incident. And Marshall's actually still there on the track, so we're convinced that this will be now the final safety car lap. So frustrating for the drivers, of course, because they just get themselves into their mojo for the race, and then it's brought under the control of the safety car. So the cars are snaking their way through turn number 7, then head up towards a small right-hander, which is turn number 8, and then before the final 2 turns on this Red Bull Ring circuit, which are turns 9, the Rindt turn, and turn number 10, the Red Bull Mobile, both right-handers and both running downhill. So Alex Paolo there in the number 39 car ahead of the number 16 car of Nikita Troitsky that we could see there as the yellow flag, and the safety car remains out. So at least another lap behind the safety car. I would suggest now that we have seen the marshals still attending to the gravel that's out on the track in that section between turns 4 and 5. Rennie Rossin then looks on. Trying to see what the safety car lets him out. Still flashing as they head up towards turn number 2. This little left-hand kink, which is exactly where the safety car is now. Before heading up to turn number 3, the Remus turn, which the safety car is going to come in this lap. So lights are still on the safety car, but it is going to come in at the end of this lap. And there is Dan Tickton, who had advanced himself 1 position up to P7, chasing down Fenestras then ahead of him. So there is Mick Schumacher leading the race, of course, and has led from the off, converted that P1 into the race lead. All smiles on the Prema Theodore pit wall at the moment. Safety car speeds up now, and the safety car will disappear. It will be the responsibility of Mick Schumacher to control the pace of the restart. He's allowed to maintain his speed and then decide when he really wants to accelerate, but he can't accelerate and then slow down again. Once he accelerates, he has to stay accelerated. Cars making their way through turn number 8 now. Schumacher will back them all up, and it will be down to Marcus Armstrong and Robert Schwartzman to try and identify when Mick Schumacher is going to give it a footful. There is the safety car about to disappear into the pit lane then, and it will be the responsibility of Mick Schumacher to control the pace of this restart. When is he going to go for it? And how well can Marcus Armstrong anticipate it? Well, pretty well, to be honest, because they're virtually welded together. They've left Robert Schwartzman behind. Jonathan Aberdeen will be thinking that he's got a chance on Robert Schwartzman potentially now, but Jury Vips wants to get past Jonathan Aberdeen and reclaim that P4 place as they cross the timing line then, and we go for it once again. Jonathan Aberdeen protects that inside line going into turn number 1. Jury Vips forced to go around the outside, but will he try and cut underneath the Jonathan Aberdeen car now? Yes, he does. So fight going on for P4 at the moment between Jonathan Aberdeen and Jury Vips, and also trying to buy into this battle is Sacha Fenestras also. Schumacher leading from Armstrong, then it's Schwartzman. So Jury Vips on the inside, but not quite close enough to Jonathan Aberdeen. If he runs wide, he might be able to get a slingshot off here, but if Jury Vips can stay on the inside now, this will give him the inside for the Roush turn number 4. But look at this, Fernandez is going to come around to both the side of both of them. They are 3 abreast, this three-way fight for P4, which on this occasion, Jury Vips wins that battle for the moment. And Sebastian Fernandez then on the inside now, which becomes the outside for the next turn as Jonathan Aberdeen continues to try and defend. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cars in this fight, and Gian Daravala and Dan Ticktum fighting once again. And Gian Daravala losing out to the number 16 car of Nikita Troitsky. Ferdinand Habsburg right behind Gian Daravala. Now Gian Daravala, the all-pink car. So as they cross the line, then it is Schumacher, Armstrong, Schwartzman, Vips back into P4. Then it's Aberdeen, Fenestras, Ralph Aron, Dan Ticktum is now P8. Then it's Nikita Troitsky and Gian Daravala rounding out the top 10. And he's being chased by Ferdinand Habsburg. So Dan Ticktum then trying to reel in Ralph Aron, having lost that P7 place. Dan Ticktum now P8. Which is precisely where he started the race. There is the Ferdinand Habsburg car, the number 62 car, chasing down Gian Daravala. So the cars then head towards the Roush turn once again and begin to settle into the rhythm here. The gap between Daravala and Habsburg, as you can see, 4 tenths between those two. Schumacher has got up to 5 tenths as up the inside there of Alex Paulo goes Artem Petrov, just taking a look, but Paulo able to close the door. A bold and ambitious effort, and well done to him for that, for certainly having a go. So the cars all snake through the turn then, and I may have had Janothan then in car number 24. Lost Fernandez and Suri Andres. So Dan Ticktum then in the number 27 car, taking plenty of curbs in his quest to get on terms with Ralph Aron ahead. And Schumacher extends his lead by a tenth over Marcus Armstrong, P2, Schwartzman, then Vips, Aberdeen, Fenestras, Aron. Then it is Ticktum, Nikita Troitsky and Gian Daravala. So here is our race leader then, Mick Schumacher. Again, faultless drive so far, protected of course by Marcus Armstrong and Robert Schwartzman, both race for the same team, although of course every driver is out there for himself. But for the moment, absolutely no problems for Schumacher. Take a dive up the inside there. So now they go side by side, almost, as they head down towards the Roush turn now. So all the way around the outside tries Inem Ahmed. Fabio Scherer in the number 13 car, using that exit from the Remus turn to great effect. There's Robert Schwartzman running in P3. So Schwartzman's 1.5 seconds down on the race leader at the moment, as Schumacher last time around it was 6 tenths between Schumacher and Armstrong, and this time he's increased it by a couple of tenths. There is Dan Ticktum with Ralph Aron ahead of him, and ahead of Ralph Aron it is the Sasha Fenestras car. So the cars are spacing themselves out now, and as you can see, the top three have really broken away a little bit from Jury Vips, who's in that P4 place, and he in turn has broken away from Jonathan Aberdeen. Bearing in mind, Jonathan Aberdeen had got past him earlier on in the race. Right at the start, there is Ticktum then, and you can see was 4.6, now 5.1, and now 5.7 seconds behind the race leader. So the gap from Ticktum to Aron, about 5 tenths between those two. Really do with a big battle going on ahead of him, which would slow the cars and enable him to get closer to them. But at the moment, that isn't happening. So Schumacher then 8/10 ahead of Marcus Armstrong, who in turn has increased his margin over Robert Schwartzman in P3. There is Robert Schwartzman in that number 10 car, supported, of course, by the SMP Racing organisation. And Schumacher, pink sector in the final sector. Armstrong is looking quicker as well now. Armstrong with 2 personal bests in sector 1 and sector 2. So last lap around, Mick Schumacher was at 1:23.992, 1:24.213 for Marcus Armstrong. As in his quest to do everything he can, he's really throwing everything at the car. Is Dan Ticktum there, as you can see, and using tarmac curbs and even AstroTurf in his quest to try and get on terms with Ralph Aron ahead of him. Some super slow-mo shots in replay here. What have we got? 17 minutes plus 1 lap of the race remaining then. Of course, the race punctuated by that earlier safety car. And that is a super slow-mo shot of master at work, Mick Schumacher, at the moment. So being investigated after the race is Guan Yu Zhu for being off track in turn 1 and turn 3 in the very first lap of the race. Where is Guan Yu Zhu? Running in P14 at the moment. Schumacher now sets the fastest lap at 1:23.992. Jury Vips is just getting a little bit closer to Robert Schwartzman now. And here's Ticktum now beginning to reel in Ralph Aron. Well, the gaps on, in terms of the television pictures we can see, are almost equidistant, aren't they, between P1, P2, P3, P4 and P5, 6. Although between P5 and 6, I think Fenestrad is getting closer to Jonathan Aberdeen. So, 8/10, 1.079, 1.170 over the last 3 laps between Mick Schumacher and Marcus Armstrong. So Schumacher controlling this at the front really rather well. And looks completely untroubled. So you can see, I just mentioned that Fenestrad is getting closer to Aberdeen. I think that is the case. Just a couple of car lengths behind the Jonathan Aberdeen car now. Jury Vips has broken away from them, but in fairness, he's not able to... he is getting a bit closer to Robert Schwartzman, but not perhaps as quickly as he would like. And I think, for my money, Ticktum is getting a little bit closer to Ralph Aron now as well. Ron, who took a grid drop into the race yesterday for an engine change. And we're at very nearly half distance of the race now, as across the crest comes our race leader, Mick Schumacher, in the number 4 car. P2 is Marcus Armstrong. And it's Robert Schwartzman and Jury Vips. There you can see, I think that Ticktum is a bit closer now to Ralph Aron. 6/10 between the 2 of them. So 1.3 between P1 and P2. Again, mentioned that the all-yellow car of Sasha Fenestrad, the Carling racer, trying to reel in the number 23 car of Jonathan Aberdeen for Moto Park. There is Dan Ticktum, currently running in this P8 position, so in the points, but nothing like enough. And here you can see just how Ticktum really is throwing everything at the car and doing everything he can to get on terms and try and get himself up the order. However, it is, the cars are so evenly matched, and of course, Schumacher is just romping away at the front at the moment. A 1.3 second margin between himself and Marcus Armstrong. Fenestrad, and there is the Moto Park racer, driver number 27, Daniel Ticktum then. Talented young driver who led the Drivers' Championship. However, that lead has now gone away and gone in favour of Mick Schumacher following his rich vein of success that he's had. If it stays this way, it will be his 5th victory in a row. Really dominant performance from Schumacher. Armstrong P2, Schwartzman P3, then is Jury Vips. Aberdeen not quite under pressure from Sasha Fenestrad yet. Ticktum is closer to Ralph Aron. So with 13 and a half minutes plus 1 lap remaining, Ticktum, as he has said publicly, all he can do is throw absolutely everything at it and deliver of his best at all times. Here's what he's doing. Nikita Troitsky is about to come under pressure from Gian Daravala, who's going to get closer to him as well. Those are the final points paying positions, P9 and P10. Ferdinand Habsburg is P11. Alex Paolo is P12. Then it's Artem Petrov and Guan Yu Zhu, P14. So through the Ramus turn they go. And here, as I mentioned then, there is Dan Ticktum, but right behind them, Nikita Troitsky and Gian Daravala are very, very close. Perhaps the closest battle on track at the moment is between Troitsky and Daravala for P9 and P10. So there is the Daravala car, and around the outside of Nikita Troitsky. So we'll pick them up now on this camera shot here. And they continue to go side by side. Nikita Troitsky defending very hard. Gian Daravala pushing as hard as he possibly can. Gian Daravala is P10 at the moment. Nikita Troitsky is P9. So this battle, which is being fought over the P9 position for the moment, Troitsky has got the better of Gian Daravala, but Daravala looking very lively indeed and continues to track the number 16 car. Schumacher maintaining his lead and increasing it marginally to 1.5 seconds over the P2 driver Marcus Armstrong, but we're focusing on this battle for P9 and P10 as they head up towards turn number 1 now. Gian Daravala needs to get right on the gearbox of Nikita Troitsky to execute a move, perhaps potentially going through the Ramus turn or maybe even down to the Roush turn once again, but Nikita Troitsky then, with it seemingly all under control, it's now that Daravala tries to get close, and this was an off moment which we didn't see live. A big save, and a good save there from Sasha Fenestras, the Carlin racer, using the opposite lock to drift the car across the curbs, and also almost onto the sausage curb as well. That will have probably played into the hands of Ralph Aron and arguably Dan Ticktum as well, who will have got a bit closer to them. So P1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 as Jonathan Aberdeen, of course, has been released a little bit from the chase from Fenestras, as we have someone off run wide in turn number 5, hence the yellow, which is very quickly replaced by a green. So race leader Mick Schumacher and Troitsky Daravala continuing to fight over that P9 place. Nothing has changed in that at the moment. Turn 5, yellow now, yellow section. And another lap put into the book for Mick Schumacher. It was 1.5 seconds, it remains the same. So this in replay then was Daravala on the inside of Nikita Troitsky, and there was a touch, and that's why we have that yellow in the turn 5 section. So they had a big battle going on between the two of them, and unfortunately for Nikita Troitsky, wow, he got so airborne there in replay. You can see suspension broken at the front of the car as well. And, well, the battle between Gian Daravala and this driver, Nikita Troitsky, was for P9. Clearly, Gian Daravala has taken that position now, and unfortunately, Nikita Troitsky is another retirement from the race. So getting very physical between the two of them then. So there will be words in the Carlin garage afterwards, I'm sure. So that turn 4 incident between Gian Daravala and Nikita Troitsky has been noted by the race stewards. So now Daravala is right on the gearbox of Ferdinand Habsburg for that P9 place. Ferdinand Habsburg able to take advantage of it. Schumacher 1.5 seconds to the good then as we follow him across the line here. And the top 4 have broken away a bit from Jonathan Aberdeen. And Dan Ticktum there in P8 gets closer on the run uphill to Ralph Aron. Is he close enough? He's certainly closer than he has been. Of course, Sasha Fenestras has come within the target size potentially of Ralph Aron, following his off just a few moments ago. Big save from him. Ticktum on the run up towards the Ramus turn, able to get close enough, not quite to Ralph Aron, but definitely Ralph Aron is under some pressure now. And into this final third of the race, Ticktum appears to have a little bit more pace than Ralph Aron perhaps, and so there could be a change for this P7 place as we look at Mick Schumacher once again, but we are focused on and concentrating on the battle for P7 and P8, which is between Ralph Aron and Dan Ticktum, but Mick Schumacher leading as you can see, and extending his lead to Dan Ticktum, both in terms of this race and in the Drivers' Championship as well. So Dan Ticktum, who was the Drivers' Championship leader, has seen that Drivers' Championship go away and go the way of Mick Schumacher, but not able quite to get on terms with Ralph Lauren. He got very, very close to the race turn, also between turns 3 and 4. There he is, Dan Ticktum in the number 27 car into the final 8 minutes plus 1 lap of this race. So again now, it's the exit of that Red Bull Mobile turn, the final turn, turn number 10, which starts to think about a move on Ralph Lauren. Not necessarily through turn number 1, close enough, not close enough to be able to do that, but this section through turn number 1, turn number 2, that little kink, and then up towards turn number 3. That's where Aron looked a little bit vulnerable last time around. Hopefully we'll stay with this shot so that we can see them as they head in towards the Ramus turn, but regrettably we didn't. We go back to the top 4. So P1 driver is Mick Schumacher. He's had 3/10 taken out, and there you can just see at the back of the shot. Now Ticktum was once again on Ralph Lauren. So P1, 2, 3 and 4. Then you can see the P5 driver Jonathan Aberdeen, and there you can see it's in the second and third sectors where Ralph Lauren appears to have just the measure of the car of Dan Ticktum. And whatever progress Ticktum makes in Sector 1, he loses it in Sector 2 and Sector 3, I think. Championship prediction then, 311 points to Mick Schumacher. Dan Ticktum to 272 if it remains this way. But as you can see, I think even with just 6.5 minutes left, as the safety car is out again. So safety car has been called for. I wonder if that is for seeing nothing else happen. That's why. It's the Artem Petrov Van Amersfoort car. So Artem Petrov out of the car. That's going to have to be recovered. The safety car has been deployed. So hopefully we'll get a replay of why. And that's between turn 6 and 7, I believe, where we've lost the number 12 car of Artem Petrov. So Artem Petrov then out of the race as well. And walks away from the car. Here we can see it then. It's in the battle here with the number 39 car of Alex Paulo then. Just touch wheels. Petrov gets very sideways, catches the back end of the Alex Paulo car, and ends up in the barriers minus front wing, as you can see, and that is the end of his race. So that was the fight that was going on, P11, P12, I think. And Artem then out of the car. Car's got to be recovered. Safety car is out to pick the cars up, and there you can see the damage also to Alex Paulo's high-tech Bullfrog GP car, so he's out of the race as well. So another 2 cars, sadly, out of the race. And safety car deployed, and you can see Artem Petrov there, pretty disappointed with that. Alex Paulo out as well. And Alex Paulo then, who of course was on the podium for P3 in race 1. It's going to be a DNF, as we can see the Nikita Troitsky car being picked up there. Now, the incident between himself and Gian Daravala is going to be investigated after the race, and the incident between the Petrov and Alex Paulo car that we saw just a few moments ago has been noted by race control as well. So the one you have to feel sorry for here is Mick Schumacher, who'd built up a nice margin, hadn't he, over Marcus Armstrong. This could potentially play into the hands, though, of the likes of Dan Ticktum and the others, because all the cars will be bunched up. But we have only got 4 minutes plus 1 lap of the race remaining. However, the recovery of the Petrov car shouldn't take very long, and I suspect that Alex Paulo was able to get his car into a position of safety in any event. So Ferdinand Habsburg, of course, took advantage of the situation that was going on between Gian Daravala and the number 16 car of Nikita Troitsky, and finds himself P9 ahead of Gian Daravala. Guan Yu Zhu just out of the points, P11. And the order is Schumacher, Armstrong, Schwartzman, Jury Vips. Then it's Jonathan Aberdeen, Sasha Fenestras, Ralph Lauren, Dan Ticktum, Ferdinand Habsburg, the car that we can see centre picture right now, Gian Daravala, P10. And then it is Guan Yu Zhu, Fabio Scherer, Sophia Flörsch running in P13, Inem Ahmed, P14. So now that car is recovered, the safety car will come in, and we can go back to racing for the 2.5 minutes we'll have plus 1 lap, I suspect, by the time the safety car has made its way down to the pit lane. So for the second time of asking then, Mick Schumacher backs the cars all up. He'll stack them all up behind him. And again, it's down to Marcus Armstrong to anticipate when Mick Schumacher is going to give it a footful of the loud pedal and get this race resumed once again. He weaves vigorously from side to side to maintain the temperature into the tyres. Marcus Armstrong does not do so because his focus is on trying to anticipate when Schumacher is going to go for it, which is right now. And I don't think Armstrong anticipated that quite as well this time around as he did last time around. And actually, Schwartzman probably anticipated it better. So Schumacher then restarts the race. Then he has one more turn to do before they cross the line. And the race is officially on for the remaining 2.5 minutes. I wasn't far out there. It's going to be 2 minutes and 23 seconds as Schumacher crosses the line then. Jury Vips looking pretty lively on Robert Schwartzman as well. So Schwartzman could be under threat for that P3 place. Who's that diving up the inside there? Great move executed there through turn number 1. But here is Schumacher leading the race then. And Robert Schwartzman now on the outside of Marcus Armstrong as they head into the Ramus turn. So this will play into the hands of the likes of Vips and Aberdeen behind, because they will be slowed relatively. And Ralph Aron and Sacha Fenestraz there. Fenestraz on the outside of Ralph Aron. Can Dan Ticktum take advantage of this? Certainly, Gian Daravala is looking all over the back of the Ferdinand Habsburg car as Robert Schwartzman does put himself into that P2 position. So, following the safety car then, all sorts of battles now going on, and Robert Schwartzman defending for all he's worth. And trying to maintain his quest to get that P2 place, but is just denied by Marcus Armstrong. And Jury Vips always running right there, not for the first time. Sacha Fenestraz, Dan Ticktum should be able to get past the all-yellow car. Not quite, he's on the outside now. So the number 11 car now under threat from Dan Ticktum. So following that safety car intervention, it's really livened up this race now, because all of a sudden, with the race being neutralised, there's lots of people with lots of opportunities to try and make passes. The one that is escaping up the road, of course, is Mick Schumacher. He's 8 tenths ahead of Marcus Armstrong. Armstrong having to defend from Robert Schwartzman. And Vips is not quite close enough to Schwartzman to have a go for that P3 place. And the top 4 breaking away just a little bit from the P5 driver, which is Ralph Aron now. Schwartzman again taking a look at Marcus Armstrong. Ralph Aron, a big winner there as they go 3 abreast now. Gian Daravala, Dan Ticktum, Sacha Fenestraz, all side by side. And Fenestraz goes off. Gian Daravala goes off as well. So, as they were 3 abreast, there was a touch between all 3 of them. And it's disaster for all 3 of them. They've all picked up damage in the closing stages of this race. Well, and there you can see just how angry they are on the pit wall. Safety car is called for with just 2 laps remaining. And, well, it was close, it was tight, and they were all fighting. And then there was the inevitable touch. You can see how cross Dan Ticktum is. Gian Daravala is about to get out of the car as well. And big damage to the number 11 car of Sacha Fenestraz. So Ticktum does pick up his steering wheel and will return it to the car. Gian Daravala having trouble getting his back onto the steering column, so the race is inevitably going to finish behind the safety car now. So Daravala is out of the car, Ticktum is out of the car. When last we looked, Sacha Fenestraz was still in the car. And they walk away then, and in the closing stages of the race, with just a couple of laps left to be done, all fighting over those positions. And there is Fenestraz jumping into that rescue car there. And behind the safety car then, that's how the race will finish, unfortunately, because the Fenestraz car. Let's take a look at it again. So Ticktum here on the inside of Fenestraz, but Fenestraz gets something of a slingshot off the Ramus turn. That brings him back into contention. In the meantime, Daravala put himself on the inside. So that's why the cars were running 3 abreast as they headed down towards turn number 4. This is how close they were. Daruvala at one point, as you could see there, was on the grass. Then there was a touch between Ticktum and Fenestras. The pirouettes of Fenestras. To be fair, Ralph Aron, there we can see it again. Ralph Aron absolutely did not touch anybody. It was Ticktum and Fenestras that came together. And you can see it here from this angle. I mean, from the first angle that we looked at, it looked like Daruvala had a touch, but I don't think he did. And then in avoidance, does nothing but clatters into the barriers. So, of course, that's all going to be investigated. But there you can see Ticktum and Daruvala laughing about it now. They certainly weren't laughing about it when they jumped out of the cars. And it's valuable, valuable points for Dan Ticktum that have gone away now. So the safety car is leading the cars through turn number 9 now and heading towards turn number 10. And the checkered flag is out for Schumacher to take the win. Not the way he would have wanted to win the race, but in fairness, you wouldn't have expected him to have lost the race in any event. To be fair, it looked like it was going his way, but right in the closing stages of that race, that 3 abreast move between the Remus and Roush turn then was what called for the safety car to be deployed yet again for the 3rd time in this race. But Mick Schumacher now makes it 5 wins in a row. So Dan Ticktum and Gian Daruvala continue talking. And I have to say, having looked at the replays that we looked at, I don't think Daruvala actually touched. So Schumacher then taking his car back to the pit lane. And there is Marcus Armstrong finishing the race in P2. Jonathan Aberdeen finished the race P6 in the end, so 1 place better than his achievement yesterday as we look at the Gian Daruvala car and in person with Dan Ticktum alongside him. Fabio Scherer finishes P7, Ferdinand Habsburg finishes P8. P9 will go the way of Guan Yu Zhu. And then rounding out the points paying positions, taking P10, it's going to be Sophia Flörsch. Well done, Sophia takes P10. Inem Ahmed just out of the points, P11. And there you can see confirmation of the result on screen. Mick Schumacher, Marcus Armstrong, Robert Schwartzman, the 1, 2, 3. Then Jury Vips, Ralph Aron, Jonathan Aberdeen, Fabio Scherer, Ferdinand Habsburg, Guan Yu Zhu, Sophia Flörsch rounding out the top 10. And that'll be Sophia Flörsch's first points in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. Inem Ahmed, Ben Hingley, P11 and P12, Marina Sato, then Julian Hanses, Amaya Vadyanathan, P15. And then, of course, we lost Fenestras, Dan Ticktum, Gian Daruvala, Alex Paulo, Artem Petrov, Nikita Troitsky, Sebastian Fernandez, and Kevin Suri Andres. So, there, Mick Schumacher then takes another win. Bit of a damp squib win at the end, through no fault of his, it has to be said. In the Drivers' Championship now, what a commanding position he's in. 311 points over Dan Ticktum now, 268. Of course, Dan Ticktum not earning any points out of that race at all. Marcus Armstrong now on 250 as well. So even P2 in the Drivers' Championship at the moment is under threat as Mick Schumacher then jumps out of the car. Congratulated. Still, Gian Daruvala and Dan Ticktum continue their their conversation. There is Robert Schwartzman. So Schumacher then being interviewed. So much focus, of course, on his success in the FIA Formula 3 European Championship. But Gian Taravala and Dan Tickson posed for a photograph. Credit to them both for that. After a particularly disappointing end of the race for them, they still find time for, I think that was the medical crew, and well done to them for that. So Mick Schumacher then is congratulated. And there is Dan Tickson then, who's trying to blag a lift back to the paddock now, I would suggest. So very, very disappointing for him. Of course, a real racer and going to go for every point that he possibly could, and that was why they were three abreast and caused the collision between Tickson Taravala and also Fenestras. So their conversation continuing there at the moment. Here, super slow-mos to the top three then. Robert Schwartzman is P3. P2 for Prema Theodore Racing, Marcus Armstrong. And then another dominant performance from the driver of car number 4, Mick Schumacher. Second win of the weekend, fifth win in a row for Mick Schumacher for Prema Theodore Racing and leader of the Drivers' Championship. Down the pit lane now, heading towards the podium, where we will see Schumacher, Armstrong and Schwartzman. And there, just behind the podium room then, Rennie Rossin then, the boss of the Prema team, being interviewed, and there in the podium preparation room will be Schumacher, Armstrong, Schwartzman. Then the rookie podium will be Armstrong, Schwartzman and Jury Vips, which is why you can see Jury Vips there just relaxing in the chair with the black overalls on. Marcus Armstrong there, centre picture now. Sitting down was Robert Schwartzman. So Schumacher not yet made it into that podium preparation room. And again, this is Marcus Armstrong then. So super slow-mo of the number 8 car. So Schumacher joins the party behind the scenes then. So Schumacher to the right side of the picture, Marcus Armstrong to the left, just obliterating the view of Robert Schwartzman, who sat down, and Jury Vips offers congratulations to Mick Schumacher as well. On his way out to the top step of the podium. So Prema, of course, will be represented on the podium. Not that they're not represented enough, it has to be said, with all three drivers. Marcus Armstrong there. On to step 2, and here comes Robert Schwartzman for step number 3 of the podium, and the national anthem will play out, of course, for Mr. Mick Schumacher. Win number 2 of the weekend. So the anthem plays out then, and Schumacher replaces one baseball cap. And here comes the trophy presentations. Ellen Law then making the trophy presentation to Mick Schumacher, DTM race winner, of course. And Mick Schumacher then with the trophy then. We do love those Red Bull trophies that are here. Marcus Messner then, head of circuit and facility here at Project Spielberg, making a trophy presentation as well. Ellen Law called upon once again to make the trophy presentation to Marcus Armstrong. And Marcus Messner will make the trophy presentation to Robert Schwartzman. Marcus is the head of circuit and facilities here at Project Spielberg, and deserves much credit for what they've done with this fantastic circuit, as the drivers then all get together for their photographs. Once done, of course, it is time for the champagne. So our trophy presenters also joining in. And Thomas Hura there, the official photographer, making sure that the moment is recorded. And at the top is lifted off the champagne then. The team gets there before the drivers. Well done. Got Armstrong there. It's like he's fighting a fire. Brilliant stuff. Well, another very dramatic FIA Formula 3 European Championship race, that's for sure, as Mick Schumacher gets thoroughly soaked, it has to be said, in champagne. And leading the Drivers' Championship with a remarkable margin now. And Prema Feyenoord racing then with all three drivers, of course, on that podium. There is a rookie podium to come as well, but rather suspect that we won't have time to enjoy that, but we do know that it is Schumacher leading the Drivers' Championship points. Make sure you join us for race number 3.